In many ways, it affects all levels of society. My research focuses particularly on how it's affected poor urban communities at the margins, of which Colonia Romero, the community where I do my own ethnographic fieldwork, is one. And the impact there has been devastating in terms of the social and economic capital of the barrio. And so most of the shops and the services and the transport that once existed in this community have shut down under the pressure of extortion and have been replaced by gang-owned businesses. Households have really struggled to get by. About 20 to 30% of the neighborhood have abandoned their homes, and many families sort of avoid improving the construction materials of the homes, acquiring things like appliances, electronics, or other major purchases in order to try to avoid attracting extortion threats. And it's generated a lot of fear and distrust in the community that there is this sort of widespread systematic extortion, which the gang operates through the help of quite a few collaborators. The two primary strategies that the state has employed in responding to gangs have been mass incarceration on the one hand and mano dura security policies, primarily through the use of military and urban security policing operations. So on the one hand, a lot of young, low-level, real and alleged gang members have been shunted into an incredibly overcrowded prison system, where they tend to come into contact with higher level gang members, where they tend to become more committed to a criminal career, because once you have been through the prison system, obviously your options for work outside of it are drastically reduced. And the use of segregated gang prisons in Guatemala has really contributed to the operational integration and the consolidation of leadership structures of the gangs within the prison systems. Now, on the other hand, militarized security operations have been for approximately 6 or 7 years now, kind of one of the banner ways in which the Guatemalan state has been intervening. And this has been until earlier this year, in April 2018, primarily through these kind of territorial task force models, where a large body of military officers and a very small contingent of police are installed in certain high-risk urban sectors, which they then sort of attempt to control through a model of proximity policing. So residents of Colonia Romero spend a lot of time in everyday conversations with family, with friends, sort of evaluating risk, talking about ways to mitigate risk, to negotiate sort of real and emerging threats. And so the situation that they were in for these 6 years of the military presence in the barrio really put them in a very difficult situation of having to negotiate two coercive oppositional forces in their space. And so thinking about managing those relationships with both the gang and the military force became a very challenging part of everyday life for residents there. So since what I call the Mara's predatory turn to extortion, where gangs that were once sort of strongly identified with their barrios and very protective of them turned towards this very exploitative, very violent extraction of extortion from these neighborhoods. Most residents, apart of course from those who are actively involved in the extortion economy, have been very hostile to the gang's power. This is something that they want to see displaced. The state was, certainly at least initially, welcomed and supported in large part because of that sort of turn towards predation that the gang had undertaken. But what people wanted and expected from the state was really some measure of visible predictability and visible order in their environment. They did not really expect the military to deliver to them or to create the conditions in which they could reassert the kind of more legitimate social order that they perceived their neighborhood as having had before this predatory turn on the part of the Mara. And over time, people became increasingly cynical about what the sort of intentions of the military and the Guatemalan state were in being there. But that being said, they remained very afraid about the prospect of the military retreating because they felt that they at least maybe had some role in holding unpredictable public violence at bay while they were there.